Surely Mom and Dad would prefer to live with me rather than you, Emma, my pregnant sister-in-law Karen declared, affectionately cradling her belly. After all, you can't even give them grandkids. Since we're moving here, it's only fair that you and your husband find a new place. I responded with a simple, okay, although Karen seemed quite content with my quick acquiescence. Deep down, I felt a sense of relief at the prospect of finally breaking free from our strained relationship. My name is Emma, and I've been married to Scott. Together, we've been grappling with the challenges of infertility. Having spent years working as a child care worker, my love for children ran deep within me. So when I discovered that conceiving was proving difficult after marrying Scott, it shook me to my core. I even confided in Scott, expressing my fear that he might regret marrying me, considering our struggle. With his gentle demeanor, Scott reassured me, saying, "I didn't marry you for children. I married you because I love you. Whatever challenges we face, we'll face them together." His words resonated with me, and we embarked on the journey of fertility treatments hand in hand. Reflecting on it now, I realize how fortunate I am to have such an exceptional husband by my side. Initially, I attempted to juggle fertility treatments with my job, but the demands of shift work made it increasingly challenging. As the treatments progressed, my emotions became more fragile, often leading to tears at the sight of children, a stark reminder of my own uncertain path to motherhood. Recognizing the strain it placed on both myself and my colleagues, and recalling Scott's suggestion that I could explore being a stay-at-home wife, I made the difficult decision to resign from my job. Now, amidst fertility treatments, I embrace the role of a full-time homemaker. Karen, Scott's younger sister, who is expecting her fifth child, learned of our struggles. Despite the sensitivity of my situation, Karen would visit with her 4 children in tow, oblivious to the emotional toll it sometimes took on me. With a casual tone, she'd remark, "Emma, you're at home now, aren't you? Why not lend me a hand with the kids? You used to work in childcare, didn't you? Take care of them for me, will you?" And with that, she'd leave her children in my care to indulge in her beauty treatments and manicures. Whenever I mentioned that it wasn't appropriate for me to babysit, Karen would dismissively retort, "In a society where people aren't having enough children, isn't someone like me, who's raising kids, more admirable? You who can't even have children should just do as I say." It was frustrating to care for someone else's children without compensation, even if she was my sister-in-law. Despite her abrasive demeanor, I couldn't ignore the longing in her children's eyes for their mother's presence. Each time they asked when she returned, it tugged at my heartstrings. I wondered the same thing myself. Naturally, I shared my concerns with Scott, including how Karen was leaving her children with me while she indulged in her beauty treatments. Scott, seething with anger, confronted Karen over the phone, only to be met with dismissiveness. "Emma should be thrilled to be around kids since she can't have any of her own," Karen retorted. "After all, she used to work with children, so what's the big deal?" Scott, undeterred, approached Karen's husband Rob, hoping for some understanding. However, Rob echoed Karen's sentiments, insisting that our assistance was necessary. "Our kids seem to enjoy Emma's company, and it's a big help to us," Rob stated. "Once Emma gets pregnant, we won't impose on her anymore. But until then, we'd appreciate her support. Karen is exhausted from caring for the children, and as a homemaker, Emma should be able to pitch in." Scott had assured me that if Karen ever showed up uninvited, I had full authority to send her packing. However, her 4 children had a habit of darting straight to the back room without so much as a hello the moment they entered our home. Karen, in her usual fashion, would simply declare, "Well then, you're in charge today," before hastily departing, leaving her kids behind before I could voice any objections. One day, Karen broke her usual routine by unexpectedly stepping inside our house. Typically, she dropped off her children and swiftly left, so I was taken aback when she inquired, "When are you moving to the new house? Have you picked out any designs or anything?" Scott and I were in the process of constructing a new duplex to reside with his parents. With the house nearing completion, we were preparing for the imminent move. Despite being aware of my struggles with infertility, my in-laws had never uttered a single disparaging remark. My mother-in-law, in particular, had been a source of immense support, once reassuring me, "There are countless happy families out there without children." It was a sentiment that had been a lifeline for me. Now, as my in-laws grew older and began to experience various ailments, we realized the importance of living together before they required full-time care. Hence, Scott made the decision to build the duplex. It was a rare occasion when Karen showed genuine interest in the duplex, so I eagerly shared the anticipated images and blueprints with her. Though Karen seldom visited her parents' house, the prospect of the home they would soon occupy seemed to capture her attention. She probed about the number of rooms and the amount of sunlight the house received, to which I assured her there were no concerns. When queried about our moving date, Karen simply responded with a curt, "I see," before abruptly departing, leaving her children behind. A sense of unease lingered within me, but at the time, I brushed it off. Eventually, the decision was made for us to move into the two-family home. Shortly thereafter, my in-laws settled in, and our life together with Scott's parents commenced seamlessly. Living under one roof proved to be harmonious, and we felt truly fortunate to have such kind-hearted in-laws. Then, unexpectedly, Karen made an unannounced visit one day, accompanied by her 4 children. Without so much as a glance at her kids, she turned to me and uttered, "Hey Emma, we need to talk." As my in-laws, who hadn't seen their grandchildren in quite some time, were being overwhelmed with attention, I found myself abruptly escorted out to the hallway. Amidst my concerns about whether my in-laws, who had been lamenting their recent back problems, could manage the energetic kids, Karen dropped a bombshell. "Hey, why would she and Scott vacate this house?" I was caught off guard by her unexpected words, but Karen forged ahead, seemingly unconcerned with my reaction. "Undoubtedly, Mom and Dad would prefer to reside with me rather than with you, incapable of granting them grandchildren. After all, I'm their true daughter, bound by blood," Karen declared haughtily, her hand caressing her burgeoning belly. It was evident that Karen's scheme involved moving in with my in-laws and relying on them for childcare. "See how thrilled Mom and Dad are to dote on their grandchildren," Karen remarked, gesturing towards my struggling in-laws who were attempting to manage their lively brood of grandkids. Despite my futile attempts to reason with Karen, her determination remained unyielding. Each passing moment only fueled my simmering resentment towards her for ridiculing my infertility and imposing her children on my compassionate in-laws. After much contemplation, a solution dawned on me, and with a resigned nod, I uttered, "Fine, we'll find another place." Karen eagerly set the timeline for our departure and their subsequent occupancy, leaving her children behind once more. Yet amidst the chaos, I found a sense of relief, viewing this as an opportunity to sever ties with Karen. As time elapsed, the day arrived for Karen's family to move into the duplex that Scott had painstakingly built. Wondering if the transition had been smooth, my phone suddenly rang. It was Karen. As I picked up the phone, Karen's voice pierced through with an edge of fury. "What on earth is going on? Why hasn't your stuff been cleared out yet? There's no space for our belongings. And where are Mom and Dad supposed to go?" Scott, his parents, and I had vacated the two-family residence, but some furniture remained behind. Karen's agitation was palpable, prompting my reply. "The decision was sudden, so we've only partially moved out for now. Your parents are staying with us." Unbelievable. Karen's retort came swift and sharp. "I find it outrageous that you and your husband have taken it upon yourselves to move into the house Scott built without consulting us. It's equally outrageous to offload the kids onto us and gallivant around town, despite our repeated warnings about the challenges of caring for them. That's beside the point for now. Can I just dispose of any remaining furniture that I don't care for?" Karen inquired impatiently. "If you're truly intending to move in, feel free to do so. But are you absolutely certain about this?" I questioned, a hint of skepticism lacing my words. "What do you mean?" Karen snapped irritably. It was then that I dropped the bombshell. "Can you and your husband manage the mortgage for that house? It's a substantial investment, given it's a two-family home." By that juncture, I had already spun a web of lies. Even my apparent agreement to their moving in was fabricated. There was no way I could entertain Karen's notion of seizing control over the duplex that my husband Scott had painstakingly constructed. It's only natural that the furniture remains, considering Scott, his parents, and I are currently enjoying a vacation at Yellowstone National Park. In reality, the house had been entirely paid for with the combined savings of Scott, myself, and his parents. There was no mortgage to speak of, but the fabrication served its purpose in rattling Karen. Scott and his parents were in on the plan. When Karen demanded to speak with Scott, he adopted a mischievous grin and echoed my deception, claiming there was still a mortgage. Upon hearing this over the phone, Karen reportedly broke down in tears, unable to fathom the financial strain. She ultimately chose to retreat to her previous residence with her husband, Rob, and their children, after Scott assured her she could still withdraw and that we were also returning home. Upon our return home, narrowly averting Karen's attempted takeover, she wasted no time in launching into a tirade. You never disclosed there was still a mortgage. Why keep us in the dark? Karen's voice reverberated with anger as she directed her accusations at us. With a nonchalant shrug, I retorted, because you never inquired, causing Karen's face to flush an even deeper shade of red. The children were thrilled at the thought of this becoming our home. You've shattered their dreams as well. Maybe your inability to conceive is punishment for your negligence. You owe it to them to properly care for the kids. Even if it's just playing with them, it's better than doing nothing. Karen's words stung with venom. Listening to Karen's venomous tirade, my typically reserved mother-in-law rose from her seat and delivered a resounding slap across Karen's cheek. Taken aback by my typically serene mother-in-law's unexpected outburst, she turned her attention to Karen with a cutting edge in her tone. You can't even handle the simple task of playing with the kids? Were you planning to move into this duplex just to unload your childcare responsibilities onto us? I was willing to lend a hand if you were struggling to raise your children alone, but who would want to assist a daughter who shirks her parenting duties and acts entitled? Leave this house immediately and never return. A note of desperation crept into Karen's voice as she protested. Aren't you on my side, Mom? I'm your real daughter, aren't I? In response to Karen's tearful plea, my usually reserved father-in-law found his tone heavy with disappointment. It's precisely because you're a real daughter that your behavior is so disgraceful. I feel remorseful for raising such a self-centered daughter. Scott has informed me of your cruel remarks towards Emma regarding her struggles with infertility. That's an unforgivable act. Karen's glare intensified towards me, but I couldn't help but feel a twinge of pity for her, knowing she would be facing her struggles alone from now on. With a solemn expression, I opened the front door for her. As both your mother and father have stated, it's time for you to leave. I won't be assisting with childcare any longer, so please take responsibility for your own. You're all heartless monsters, Karen lashed out before departing the house in tears. From that moment on, she never crossed the threshold of our home again. When Karen arrived at our house, Scott was away at work. Later, he received a call from her, but her words were barely intelligible through her uncontrollable sobs. It became apparent that her family was facing dire financial troubles. Karen had been indulging in beauty treatments and manicures, while Rod had been squandering money on lottery tickets. With their savings dwindling, Karen saw moving into the duplex Scott had built as a solution to avoid paying rent and utilities. When she turned to Scott, who earned significantly more than the average income, for financial assistance, he couldn't overlook her past mockery of my infertility. Scott advised Karen to cut back on beauty treatments and lottery tickets as a solution, but she tearfully refused. He couldn't bring himself to financially assist such an arrogant individual, even if she was his blood relative. As their financial situation worsened, Rob had to resort to taking a second job to cover their expenses after exhausting their funds on lottery tickets. Similarly, Karen had to forgo her regular beauty treatments due to a lack of funds. Once polished and composed, Karen was now almost unrecognizable after months of financial strain. It was only when Scott pointed her out that I realized it was indeed Karen. Yet, despite Karen's challenges, her children remained vibrant and content in her care, which was a relief. And then, a miraculous twist occurred. I discovered that I was pregnant with twins. However, even amidst the joyous news, tears welled in my eyes when the doctor confirmed it. Scott, by my side, also shed tears of happiness as we shared in the overwhelming emotion. My in-laws were equally ecstatic, finally seeing the realization of our long-held dream for a child. Though I hadn't voiced it to Scott, I couldn't help but wonder if the release from the stress caused by Karen had played a part in my pregnancy. Reflecting on the unwavering support of Scott and my in-laws, who chose to stand by me rather than Karen, fills me with immense gratitude. It's because of their unwavering support that I've been blessed with two precious lives. Now, all I can do is hope fervently that the babies growing with